Welcome back.
To counterculture.
Wow, look at that.
I'm Pastor Andy.
You are?
Oh, no, I'm Pastor Mark. You're Pastor.
Man, you have just made my life great. Did you see that smile come on me?
I know.
You want to be Pastor Andy? That's fantastic.
No, I got enough problems.
We definitely...
Most of them I've created.
We've talked about it a lot, but what we really do need to do the pulpit swap sometime without anybody knowing. And you should just stand up and say, I'm Pastor Andy. It was just great. It would be a wonderful thing. And you could do your whole little spiel, your apostle spiel.
My apostle spiel. It was actually an old televangelist, one of the early televangelists from, you know who I'm talking about.
I do, and guess what? I don't know that it has ever gone anywhere. The newer televangelists have the same idea. Hey, I wanna talk to you something.
Yes.
We talk about counterculture stuff,
Yes.
things that go against culture.
Right.
And in the church, there are some things that increasingly are becoming a little bit frustrating to me, right? So this is more of a counseling counterculture set, right?
I get $75 an hour.
That's fantastic. You're invaluable. I'm gonna buy you a new hat. So, one of the things is we get ready for Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving is all about tradition. It's all about food and things like that have been made, right? You don't go to somebody's house when you're invited for Thanksgiving and mess with the menu, how things are made, the tradition of the stuff. You just don't do it.
You just don't take the olives if they have them.
If you get invited, you specifically ask, is there anything I can bring? And if you're really smart, you would say, and how can I make that for you, right? Because there are people who have had glazed apple rings for generations, and you just don't mess with those things, right? Or stuffing the way that it's supposed to go, right? Your turkey. But we got a problem with this whole thing.
Okay.
Right? As we are bringing up and mentoring a new generation, right? New generation seems to have this problem with tradition. They have not bought it as much as we bought it, maybe. Okay. Right? Where it is very important for me to carry on some of the traditions of my mom, my grandparents. You know, we do things the same way. We grew up on Sunday nights frequently having Queenies. Right? And when I say that, everybody's like, looks like that, right? Like it's just fried dough. Right? We grew up with fried dough.
I thought maybe you killed the dog and ate it or something. Come here, Queenie! Come here, Queenie!
Fried dough with syrup and powdered sugar, and it's just...
You don't have to convince me. I'm there.
It was wonderful,
I'll participate in that tradition.
But again, it's funny because I know how we had them and what we did with it and the whole thing. But when we try to have them with our nieces and stuff like that, right? All of a sudden, they introduce heresy to Queenies, right? They introduce things that...
They put something on them that should not be on them.
Exactly. They go
We've
out of
never
bounds.
done it that way before.
We have never done it that way before. It should be the name of this topic, right?
Okay.
So tell me how we deal with the fact that we consistently have people that are in the church, even outside of the church, this is for everybody, where we've done something for a very long time a certain way, and then we get these new ideas and these new things, right? And rather than integrating things, we just end up in this culture where we just start new things, because a lot of times the people have tried to integrate, have thought about trying to work with church people and other things, but they're not allowed to, and so it's just easier to go do your own thing.
Yes, and unfortunately that happens in the church too. I've seen it, just decorating for an event.
Like Christmas.
Or the harvest dinner. This is how we do it. And then someone else wants to come along and they get upset because they didn't do it the way we wanted to. I had an aunt that got upset one time because her sisters were trying to teach the younger girls how to prepare the family dinners and stuff. And my aunt was just fuming because she was kicked out of the kitchen basically.
No,
I think they were looking for a reason to give her. How do you deal with that? Well,
yeah, because Paul, I read about Paul, and he dealt with it.
Yes,
like he just left the synagogue. I'm done trying to deal with you.
Well, it's the difference when people get hung up on religion as opposed to their relationship with Jesus, because Jesus did not do things the typical way,
right,
all the time. Another scene from The Chosen is season 1, episode 2, when Mary is having her first Seder meal, and Jesus shows up to it. And there's some really cool imagery in there, and foreshadowing. But anyway, And she's like, well, you should do it. He goes, no, I'm at your home. You should do it.
Yeah. Imagine
You know,
that.
I had this just happen a couple weeks ago. One of my ushers, he goes, we're gonna have to do the offering different today, Pastor, because I don't have a guy over on that aisle over there. And I looked at her and I said, what about your wife? I think she can handle a plate. And as she started laughing, she heard this dialogue going on, and she's this exchange, and she goes, "Yes, I can handle a plate," you know. So she did it the next week too. We had a good laugh about it, but it's
She
like
did a good job.
it's got to be a guy. She hadn't been to Ush school is the problem. That was the real problem. But I think it's a matter of at the end of the day, we got to say, no, I don't mind change.
Sure.
I really don't. I'm that's my personality. It doesn't bother me, and I kind of like to try new things. But I want things that have meaning. I don't want to do something just for the sake of doing it different. I want to do it. If we do this, can it have meaning?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it comes down to, in the grand scheme of things, can we? If I had a district superintendent ask me this one time when I was getting ready to go leave his district, I was on the associate, and I was going to go take my first church, and he asked me a tough question. I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
He says, if someone else had a different way of doing something the way you would do it, but it got the same result, how would you feel about it? I just sat there, crickets, you know, drip, 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 you know.
Yep.
And I said, but it wasn't about, it was, I had to really think about, okay, is it about my way of doing things, or is it about, wait a minute here, what do we need to do here?
I love the fact that the MO in a lot of places is, we're going to let you do it, but I'm going to tell you exactly how I would do it.
Yes. Or
Which
or words that kill about, that would just cause more trouble. In my first lead pastor, it was, well, if I was doing it,
Yes.
oh my God, and then the fight is on.
Yep. And then all the pressure. So let me give you an example that I
Yes.
ran into recently.
Okay.
Right. Let's say a church has a very ornate, right, nativity scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beautiful, right? Ceramic, ornate, and it sits up in the front of the church every Christmas season, right? But it sits upon the baptism, the
Baptism.
baptismal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it sits up on there, which effectively means that you can't baptize people because it sits up there. But let's say that you have somebody who wants to be baptized during the Christmas season.
Well, they got to wait.
Is that the answer?
No.
Because culture says they have to wait,
They have to wait.
right?
Because we can't take the nativity off. It always sets it there.
Exactly. So when somebody may have suggested that, hey, the nativity scene could move, even for a Sunday, they could move, right?
Oh, no.
It was not met with an enthusiastic, that's a great solution, right? It was not met that way, right? What do you do, right? In that moment as a pastor, right? What do you do to teach people, right? Because that's a teachable moment.
Yes,
But
that's
it's
what you
also
do.
a
You
moment
teach 'em.
that you would love to avoid.
Well, that's where a pastor has to say, what is my job? Have pastors forgotten how to be pastors? Or are they politicians? Here's the one thing that has given me a little security. No one at my churches knows this, so it's okay. But we hear that there's 1,500 pastors leaving and I don't know how that works because there wouldn't be any. I've been hearing that for 10 years, okay?
Because it's up to 1,700.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. So if that is the case, that means that there's a church out there that would take me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not too worried about it. You can either have me and you know what you got. I've just taught, and here's what I found, Andy, is when I have explained something, and some things I've just had to say, this is a 6-inch cross. I'm not going to die on it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is also, that is one of those things when the pastor has to, you've hired me to lead.
Yeah.
Okay, and here's how I'm going to lead. It is one Sunday, and this is a person, so how might this affect somebody out there saying, you know what, I really need to think about my relationship with God. I've done a few of those things, brought in some of my own traditions. I take the baby Jesus hostage every year.
Mm-hmm. And then do you put him on Christmas Eve? Yep.
I learned that was something we did when I was in the Catholic Church as a kid, and I think it is very, very. I think theologically it is accurate.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, if you have it where if Jesus is attached to the manger, it become an issue. But if it's cool, if he does not attach to the manger and the manger is there, it's the expectancy. It speaks volumes theologically. And once what I've learned, Andy, is when I have explained things theologically, it helps. It helps. Not always. And some people, you just got to say, you know what? I'm making an executive decision. This Sunday, I am baptizing this person. The nativity is going to move. I try not to put the wise men with my nativity. If we have wise men with our nativity,
Uh-huh.
I put them off to the side, and because they are coming, they're about 2 years behind. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
You know, you could have some more fun with it. You put the shepherds away a little bit, and then keep
bringing them closer.
Bring them closer. You know,
That would be a great teaching.
That's a great teaching moment of it. Yes, exactly. So I think that's the thing, is you just have to. One of the things that has helped me in these days is I'm just realizing, you know, I don't know whether we're in the last days or not. I'm in mine. I've come to the reality I have more years behind me than I do in front of me, and so I want to make them count. And I think that just whether we're in the last days or not, whatever's going on in this world there's too much going on for me to not say, you know what, it's time to quit horsing around.
Ooh.
You know, even though you like to horse around, it's time to quit playing games and to say what is really important here.
Amen.
We will move these for this Sunday. I'm going to baptize this person, and then they will be back there the next Sunday.
Absolutely. Well,
is anybody going to really remember?
Well, isn't that the whole part of the nativity scene, right? Jesus came as a baby so we could baptize people, right?
Yes.
And that's part of the Great Commission, baptizing them, not remembering the nativity scene, right?
Did you ever see the movie A Man Called Peter?
I don't think so.
It was about Peter Marshall, the first chaplain of the Senate. I think it was the Senate. And he went to this historic church that all the presidents had gone to and stuff. I think it just burned. It had burned recently. That no one, the media doesn't want to talk about. And I think it's this one. Anyway, World War II was breaking out. Peter Marshall married this couple before he went off to war. And they were having a few moments together, not consummating their relationship, but just spending a few moments together. And this hoity-toity lady who had a history was related to Patrick. Give me liberty or give me death.
Patrick Henry?
Patrick Henry, that was it. And and she walks in to put this flower arrangement, and she walks in and she is totally flabbergasted to see this couple kissing in this Lincoln room or whatever it was. Has a meeting with a couple board members and the pastor, and she is just totally upset. And she doesn't like it anyway because he's coming in and he's preaching some things that she doesn't like and stuff like that. And confronts him about letting this happen, and then he tells her, I just married that couple, and he was getting ready to go be deployed to go to war and fight for our country. I thought that they could have a few minutes together before they did this. And of course you see her all comes like, oh crud. And later on in the show, she gives him a button, and he says, what is this? She goes, this was from the coat of my uncle Patrick Henry or whatever.
Oh wow!
And then another lady said that's her way of saying,
"I'm sorry."
Yeah, and I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know, we sometimes have to challenge the norm.
Yeah.
And take our lumps.
Yep, I knew they were going to.
Yes, and we will. You're going to get them sooner or later. So pick the crosses that you were going to die on.
Yeah, well, and I think that one of the things with that we run into all the time is there are a lot of people who their suggestions aren't suggestions, they're commands, right?
Yes.
So again, as we're integrating the new with the old, with the tradition, we need to make sure that we're doing it in such a way that gives value to both, right? Like, hey, these traditions are valuable, but the new is valuable as well. It's the only way for it to become tradition is that if we allow it to happen.
Well, it makes me wonder sometimes. I wonder what happened in 1954 when George Beverly Shea sang "How Great Thou Art" for the first time.
Yeah. They're totally
and
wrong.
Oh well, you can't. You know, we got to go with the old hymns.
What did it replace?
Yeah, that hymn is now considered a classic. Everybody loves it. Everybody knows it. But in 1954, they were probably saying, "I don't know that song. We can't sing that song."
I know. What if somebody had replaced Billy Graham's, ending song, right? Like that would be terrible.
Yes.
But somewhere along the line, these kind of things happen. So,
yeah.
All right. So, listen, it's a great place to leave counterculture. I have a challenge. Like we're getting, you got Thanksgiving in just a couple days, right? Maybe invite those that are coming. Maybe you could invite somebody to bring one new thing to your Thanksgiving dinner, Just one.
I am
new
not
dish.
inviting you to my Thanksgiving.
See,
No, I'm just
I would be a new thing.
You
New
would
things.
be a new thing.
I would be the new thing. Fantastic.
We can have you for dinner because my family are cannibals. Get it? Have you for dinner?
Listen, if you get invited to Pastor Mark's Thanksgiving dinner, pray a lot about whether you go or not, because you might be the dinner.
The dinner.
That's exactly right. Think about that. We'll talk to you next time on Counterculture.
Grace and peace.